Let's have you warm up a little bit and have you go through this a few times. Check, check, check.
Keep going.
Check, check, check.
I can hear you a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
There's something real intimate about, the music people write. These people are pretty much like trusting you with their baby. I don't think, you should trust it with just anybody. And the fact that people turn to me, of all people, it's real heartwarming, I really can't explain the feeling that it does bring when someone does trust me with the most intimate, pieces of themselves sometimes, When I'm in the band, that's all that really matters at that point in my life. And I know what it's like to just put it all out there.
But I don't ever want to stop saying others. I'm jealous of my friends and their lovers. But I don't ever want to stop saying others.
Paul, are you coming in closer to the mic right now?
No, I'm just right up against the screen.
Okay, cool.
Okay. I knew that I wanted to work with Mark when he did, what was Peter Chavez and Size Band?
Reaper's Row?
Yeah, I didn't really think too much about him recording because I don't think he really marketed himself too much as somebody who records, but he did the Reaper's Row tracks and I thought they sounded great. That was the first time I was Mark's being really serious.
Raw and gritty and you'd feel it.
Yeah, that's what I was digging about it. It was it just was really, really raw.
With every empty there's a right through right.
Yeah, do that again.
It's crazy to think that he just started as this kid in his garage and just recording bands, his own friends' bands, and now he's just grown this huge network of bands. After a while, you see all these releases from these Bay Area bands, and a lot of the time you'll see Marc Estabillo's name on that. It kind of just sparks a curiosity of what is it that this guy is doing that's making all of these other albums sound so good.
When I was 19, I remember, going into this spot in Fremont called the Panda Studios. I was fortunate enough to have my friends let me watch, their bands get recorded over there. And I thought that whole process was cool, because at the time, the only thing I really had going was my job working front desk at a hotel and playing in bands. And I saw that, a few of my friends were able to make livings, recording music. I decided to actually go to school for it in Hollywood and went to the 6-month program. With school, they really did only hammer in all the technical aspects of it, but it really wasn't, school really wasn't about, creating art, what I got into it for. My learning process has mostly been from sitting behind other engineers while they run sessions. I started working in a studio in a town 30 minutes south called Huntington Park. It wasn't hardcore and punk rock bands that I first started with. That studio was mostly known for rap, and then the studio owner at the time, he would recommend me as the engineer for all the overflow work that he didn't want to do. I got exposed to so many different kinds of music. I went to school more to record my own bands at first, and then eventually get into recording other faster, aggressive kind of bands. While I was living down there, I was still going to a lot of shows. And then I had this accident where I got knocked out at a Take Offense show. I got punched in the back of the head, from some guy moshing. I actually had to get my face reconstructed from this incident, causing me to miss a lot of work. And I moved back up to my parents' house while, I got my face to recover. It wasn't really a long-term plan to stay in the Bay Area, but I ended up just doing what I regularly do and said yes to everyone that asked me to play drums for their bands. I already had my own audio equipment I gathered from, going to school and learning. I started recording demos for my own bands. I would show those demos to my other friends in bands, and then they started asking me to do their band's demos. I started recording a lot of bands. It became an every weekend thing. I started to realize that's what I really wanted to do. I slowly stopped, playing drums in bands because I realized I liked being on the other end a little more, putting the mics in front of the drums, like translating people's ideas to, like actual audio. My parents let me build like this like whole little like control room, live room setup in their garage.
We rolled up, told him we were there, and like he just got off work or whatever. He's like, I'm gonna open the garage real quick. He opened the garage, and that's his studio. He comes out and he's still wearing his uniform, and that fool's like straight up just smoking a blunt. And it's like it's like his parents' house, so they like. And I'm sure that he know that he's rolling up too, so they're just cool with it. The vibe was just total. Like it kind of put me off because I thought it would be like, oh, we gotta go, but he was like, nah, it's chill. Like we're just chilling.
Recording with Marc is really relaxing because it's not like it's just a completely straight to the business professional studio. I mean, you get that in the work. You'll sit down and end up busting out 8 hours just trying to get the drums down.
We aren't working in like a conventional nice place. Like I purposely don't even leave clocks around the room so bands aren't watching the clock. If you do go over your time, I'm not gonna kick you out. We have an end goal, We're gonna get whatever we set out to do done. I would never force something and rush it. You get better results when bands are comfortable.
There's like the professionalism there, and at the same time, like, oh, this is just a chill vibe.
It like fits like directly somewhere between that like studio feeling and like you just hanging out at a friend's house and happen to be recording.
It was definitely more intimate.
You come in and basically be free to be yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
he makes you feel at home and relaxed.
I really do care about, like bands' experiences, so my end goal is to, make sure bands are comfortable. Because I remember what it's like being on the other end, behind a drum set. And once you put the mics in front of them, it's nerve-wracking,
Feeling like you're not being judged for your skill set in a negative way, like in a studio, is like definitely like refreshing, especially when you're putting yourself, like you're taking yourself out of your comfort zone and doing something new and doing something that is expressive. These
people will remember all those times you actually cared, You didn't just lay something down and then send them off to lunch or whatever, You have to, care. Like, that's what really sets you apart, Anyone can hit record and manipulate something to, make it sound, perfect or right, but that's not how I work. I actually want to know, that you felt good with what you played.
Sounding good so far. I would actually avoid those chords.
When I do work with a band, I am a sixth or a seventh member.
One of the most important parts of being an audio engineer in general is being able to step in the shoes of another, the artist you're working with, and being able to bring a fresh perspective to them and flesh out their sound to the best that it can be.
He wants to bring the best out of you as far as a musician, but it's not it's just this completely gripping style where it's just you need to do it like this, you have to do it, this way. He's actually really relaxed about things. He'll give you, pointers, he'll give you different opinions about things.
Having that outside perspective helps us think of new parts that or approaching our sound differently in a way that we would have never even thought about.
That was one thing that was kind of new and fun, was that we got to just experiment, and it was very relaxed in that way, in terms of Marc just being oh, you want to try this? Sick, go for it. Let's try it out and see if it works.
But I ain't gonna lie, dude, the last time me and this fool recorded with him, he went in on our shit, dude. I swear to God. Damn, I've never been pushed this hard, in the studio in my life, but I feel like I came out of something from it, and I'm pretty sure you have too,
I did grow up going to shows out here in the Bay Area. A lot of people knew me from, just playing drums in every band that asked. I never thought it was weird that I liked, punk kind of bands, and then tough guy hardcore kind of bands, and then metalcore bands. A lot of that stuff, I never really understood why it was so divided. I was really fortunate to find it at such a young age that I got to appreciate, a little more of it.
Even though he's been playing hardcore and being prevalent in the scene for a long time, it wasn't It wasn't hard to approach him. He wasn't like kind of like a gatekeeper hardcore guy.
There's things that you tap into with him that you normally wouldn't with other people, especially if they don't know the music or don't know the scene.
When you're working with an audio engineer and he's not connected with like the scene or the culture, it comes out in like the quality of the music and the product itself.
Hardcore and punk, it's like right now it's like call for like a little bit more raw sound. It doesn't have to be as dialed in. Like we don't have to do like 1,000 drum takes to a metronome. And just like him playing in bands and like knowing him, it's a lot easier to approach him and ease into that.
Like we still have the opportunity to like strive for, you know, something that sounds good, but at the same time too, like I know that when I leave at the end of the day, he's not just gonna like time align my drums to a grid.
Like nicely knit in the grid. The drummer's not even really hitting that hard and shit. You can just like program this, sample this.
There's like a level of like preciseness that I notice a lot that, you know, does take away from, you know, the feel of like a raw, fast, aggressive band. I prefer not to replace sounds or anything like that. What I'm known for is realistic sounding bands, you know, the best performance that you would ever do live. That is what I try to capture, really.
Letting those imperfections live, give this like life to the music rather than, again, just like making everything perfect.
He is a person that that will allow the imperfections or the character of the music to come out instead of just trying to hide it or blemish it.
You know, I come from punk and hardcore where I do like, you know, hearing a band perform. Like the live aspect is probably the biggest aspect of it. Eventually you will have to play those songs in front of other people as a unit, so I want it to represent, you know, what you actually are, how you're actually playing it, you know?
When we're playing live, it's our presence is a big deal. So if we could kind of convey the same presence that we have performing live and make it seem like you're getting a full experience when you're listening to it, I want people to feel like when they're listening to it, they can see how we look on stage.
It's kind of cool that I learned, you know, to think outside the box because, you know, they set these rules, you know. Over time you learn, like, what's the worst that could happen if you just turn knobs, you know? Your end goal is to make it sound good. It's not worth being boxed in from all those rules. Being able to run my own show, like, has allowed me to really figure that out. Just being able to create art, you know, which is the end goal.
Sometimes like going into a studio can feel like a business transaction. I feel like the way that things are done in like a DIY music scene is like a step back from that. It feels more like you're trying to create something together, and I think that is like heavily influenced by the fact that he plays drums in hardcore bands.
He understands the culture, you know, the hardcore and the punk culture, you know, so, you know, there's not a lot of money in this. Isn't fucking, you know, pop. He's not trying to get rich off of this. He wants to probably build a scene.
If you're making money and you're helping helping bands like put out shit and help being a part of the community and shit, go do that, dude.
Doing business in general in a music scene can feel super like just kind of slimy, I guess, because no one likes to be a businessman. Or at least I know I'd like struggle with that doing video production. And I think him doing DIY stuff and playing in bands and having that involvement like makes him kind of good at having it not feel like some like slimy transaction.
You know, I'm not really in this for like a business aspect sort of deal. I genuinely do enjoy doing it. If I don't think that me working with you is going to be a right fit, I'll recommend you to one of my friends, you know, around here. I have a lot of friends who do what I do, and I don't view it as competition at all. I've collaborated with, you know, a lot of other, like, engineers in the area, and I will continue to, you know?
I know of another engineer in the Bay Area called Charles Toshio, who we've also worked with, and Marc and Toshio, they do really great work together. We've actually done shit through both of them.
My friend Nick Loicano and Cody Fuentes as well, and Mark, like all three of those dudes are dudes that I met that just started out like DIY, like they just bought equipment and were like, all right, and like started a home studio.
Toshio too.
Charles Toshio too.
Yeah, shout outs to Toshio.
All these dudes that like they went and they're like, you know what, I want to start recording bands, and they started out in their homes. And they just made it happen.
And that's
like,
punk.
Yeah, exactly.
That's punk as fuck. Like
DIY, just DIY ethic.
We just support any like young entrepreneur trying to like make it happen.
You know how many
Whatever it
people
takes.
aren't able to like actually take a shot at what they like to do? Like, it's scary, you know? To be able to do what they like, they'd have to sacrifice a lot more than, you know, I would. So it is like, I am really fortunate to be able to.
Small scenes and definitely small bands need people like Mark. Honestly, I'm not trying to like hype him up, but we should be grateful that we have somebody like that and that, you know, around us.
I still get stoked when my friends start new bands, or, you know, people find me like on the internet and, you know, they seek me out to be able to, you know, make music with me. Like, that's like, I don't know how to explain how cool of a feeling that is. The fact that I was able to help a band on their journey is really humbling. A lot of my friends, you know, are really, really creative, and being able to see, you know, the ideas before they make it out to the rest of, you know, the world, like, is awesome. Yeah. I do eventually want to, you know, do, like, music full time. But until then, I'm having the most fun being able to do it when I can.
Just shout outs to like any young entrepreneur. We're in the struggle with you trying to make it. I know it's gonna pay off for y'all if you try hard enough.
Yeah, record that band, like make that film, print that zine.
Do it.
Just do it.
If it's important to you, it's important to us. And eventually it will pay off.
No, I got too many friends in bands to shout out, you know. I want to see everyone win in 2020 and the rest of our lives, you know.